All righty. Welcome to Satsang, everybody. So great to have you here. So there's just this. This is it. Nothing else is going on. This is already wholeness. So if this is already wholeness, then how come we don't feel whole? So if you'd like to chime in, please go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in. It's a participatory satsang. Love to hear from everyone.
We don't know who we aren't.
Say that again, Stephen.
We don't know who we aren't.
Or we think we know who we are.
It's about subtraction.
So we come to satsang and we get the message that this is all we've been looking for, that this is wholeness right now, and yet we don't feel it. It's not our experience. Yeah, it's all an ocean, but I still feel like a wave. Anybody feel separate? Be honest.
No.
Be honest. It's good to be honest. Gotta be honest.
I only experience feeling separate when I'm because I work in a doctor's office, and then sometimes I'll have to make decisions about patients, and when I make these decisions about patients, I start to feel like me again, like, oh man, I don't want to do that. Why did I have to do that? So I only feel separate in certain situations.
Okay, can anyone relate to Brittany? Sometimes I feel like a me, sometimes I don't. Oh wait, that's a nut. But actually, that's actually the same thing. A me is a nut. Because tonight at Satsang, I want to take a look at what exactly the separate me's plan is to reach wholeness. Right? Because that's in essence what the me is saying. I feel separate, but if I do enough, and not just do enough, but do enough of the right things, I will achieve nirvana.
Yeah, the me still is trying to be in control.
Yeah, nice, Stephen. So those of us who are sensitive to what Stephen just said, in other words, you feel the falseness of the me. See, the me doesn't show up empty-handed. You see, the me comes bearing gifts. Specifically, I don't feel complete, so let's go on a journey to find my wholeness, to find my completion. So with a me, does not come by itself, but it comes with seeking energy. So we can notice that. We can notice the urge to move, that this is not okay as it is, that something needs to happen to make this whole.
Definitely.
And talk about an impossible dream, right? So check it out. This is talk about ambition. The wave says, I'm separate, but I'm going to become an ocean or find the ocean, but I still want to be there. This is what the me is saying. I want wholeness, but I'd like to be there to experience the wholeness.
I can't do that. It's either one or the other.
Right. That's right. And why is that, Joan?
Because when you're in a state of void, there is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. The me is separation, and wholeness doesn't contain separation, or it couldn't be wholeness. So the me is looking for this special wholeness that it imagines that is whole, but has space for a little me, a little separation. So it could be there to experience the wholeness. Now, if that hits you as absurd, as ridiculous, that the me's plan is an impossible task. You cannot turn separation into wholeness. How are you going to do that?
So because I understand that there's no me here, especially when you told me there's never been a me. So how can it come back if there's never been a me? So I get it. So what do I do when this me energy comes up so like intense? I try to, not to identify with it, but it comes so strong that I start believing it. And then you're right. Now? I'm sorry.
Who's talking now?
I don't know.
Yes.
And of course, I don't want the me. I don't like it. I feel like it's just a pain in my ass. I don't want it. So I get very, very sad when I'm at work and I feel it arise. I'm like, oh, I thought it was gone.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brittany. Does the ocean get sad if a wave arises?
No.
See, I'll tell you the problem that the me has, and it can't get around it. It's has to deny that this is already wholeness to be in business. Because if this is already wholeness, what do you need the me for? You got what you want. The wholeness is here. It's the believing you're the me that keeps you from seeing it, right? Because think about the ocean and the wave analogy. If you put all your attention on a wave, what are you not seeing? You're missing the ocean. You're just seeing a wave in the ocean, and if the wave goes up, you have a reaction. If the wave goes down, and now you got to worry about all the waves around you, because those guys are a problem. Because the waves around you are constantly messing up your plans, encroaching on you. So the life of a wave is nothing but misery. There's no way around that, because it's not the truth. You're not a wave. It's the ocean dreaming it's a separate wave. But here at Satsang, we look at that and see are you really that separate me? So notice that seeking movement. Notice the I'm not okay is not believed yet. So that just means that the seeking me is still having its way with you. You're still hallucinating that you're separate. But I invite you to look at the me's plan. Okay, so if you're really separate, then what's your plan for wholeness? Explain, how is that going to work? I want to hear this. See, we're putting the spotlight on the me sort of in the laboratory, you know, in all its glory. So we're not getting confused. Because right now we're confused. We're not clear between what's always present, the wholeness, and what comes and goes, our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, mood. So just because if you're in a bad mood or depression shows up or you forget yourself, wholeness has not gone anywhere. The ocean has not gone anywhere. Nothing's actually happened. But if you believe that you're really the wave, if you think, oh, I've really lost it, then how do you not suffer? Because you're claiming you lost something you are. You are it. You're already the wholeness. That's why seeking doesn't work. So seeking actually takes you away from wholeness because it's denying it, right? Why would I seek if I already had it?
You are what you're seeking.
Yeah. That's simple.
That's why you can never find it.
Yeah, but the me, good Stephen, but the me wants to keep it. The me wants to take the wholeness and put it in its pocket and not let go of it. So if I could just have wholeness, but the me is separation. Separation can never have wholeness. I should say me is the idea of separation. Go ahead, Stephen.
A friend of mine was just saying that the God who we are, whatever we are, is just a part of her, is what she was saying.
Part of it.
It's just a part of her.
Well, we're saying at Satsang, all there is God, all there is wholeness, all there is oneness. Fill in your favorite word.
Right. And everything is appearing within that.
Yeah, so, that's right. So this is wholeness appearing as separation. Now that's different than you really being separate. See the difference? If there really was separation, then yeah, all bets are off. Go figure out your best plan. But if the illusion is you were never separate, except around the age of 2, this personality called me appeared on stage, and as soon as me shows up, then there's other. Right? Other, then there's a me. If there's a me, then there's another. So that's duality. So now I'm split. And now I start to care what others think, what I think, and where's the wholeness? Still here, but where's my attention? It's on the story.
On the story, absolutely. It's all story.
Yeah, we don't realize when we're in story. That's our suffering.
Amen.
Yeah, and the story is all tied up with beliefs. I liked your cartoon picture. I can't quite remember what it was, but you had a cartoon picture about something about belief.
You mean the guy, Frank, in the boxing ring?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or the ring announcer in the cartoon is going, and in this corner, Frank's beliefs, undefeated.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
So that's
because story and belief are all mixed in together, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly, Faith, because what would wholeness need a story for?
So those beliefs are very hard to shake or get rid of, no? I suppose that's what props us up and helps the me to feel safe, the belief system.
Yeah, but wholeness doesn't need a belief system. That's the
No.
problem.
Yeah, because it imprisons us at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I need a belief system because I don't trust life.
Mm.
And not trusting life is the same as not trusting yourself.
Can you say a bit more about that?
Well, if there's only wholeness, only life, only what is, and again, the word's not important. You know, Alan likes the Tao. It's X. You could call it X. The point is, it's all one. Like I'll tell you if I'll tell you some of the crazy things that pop into my head in case you're interested. But if you ever wonder what kind of bizarre, like this, I feel like Joanna now. It's not really public for consumption, but let's go for it. So I was imagining that, imagine if your body was the universe and like a family of ants climbed on the body and started naming different parts of your body, just like we name cities and lakes and country and land. So now the ants are on there, and the mama ant says, okay, well, that's a tree, you know, even though it's really, you know, your pinky or something. And they've made a map of your body, which is nothing. They're calling it all these words, but nothing that they're labeling it is actually true because it's actually all your one body. But the ants don't know that because they have language. So now they can sort of overlay their map. Stay away from that part because we've lost brothers and sisters who've gone too far over in that section, and stay here. And, you know, they have all these rules, and, you know, and then red ants and black ants start to fight over better territory. And the whole point is they're all missing the wholeness that is your body in this crazy example. So whatever my point is, whatever the ants are imagining isn't true because they're starting like they know what your body is. And that's what we're doing. The me thinks it knows what this is. And so then it names everything. And pretty soon the wholeness is obscured by our map. So we have a map as to what is good, what is bad, what is helpful, what is not helpful, as if we know. And that's the problem with being a me, is it thinks it knows something. And I'm telling you that you would never suspect knowledge as the culprit. As they say in Zen, to know is to not really know, and to not know is to know. Go ahead, Stephen.
Well, one of the things I've been running into a lot now is this whole thing about health and the whole industry in defining what's wrong And what you have to do, whether it's you have to eat right, or you have to have the right amount of hours of sleep each day, or whatever it is, there's all these things of how you're going to get to this whole place, or where you're perfect, or you're healthy, or whatever, without realizing that, you know, you're perfect right now, because this is all there is. So there's nothing wrong ever. It just is whatever it is.
Right. But that's too simple for the mind, right? Because what you're saying, Stephen, is there, right? You're saying there's just this. There's just what is.
Yes.
And then the mind comes in with what? Yeah, but.
Yeah, but I've got this backache, or I've got this cancer, I've got whatever, and something's wrong, and I have to get that fixed in order to be okay.
Yeah. And it's endless for the me.
Endless.
Yeah. So if you want to suffer, there's no better way than to imagine you're a me, because the suffering is endless. And so that's when I talk about being sensitive to that suffering, that it can get to a point, right, as Diane and I have shared, where it was just too damn painful, the suffering. So that's the giving up. Like, you run out of moves. That's the best way I can explain it, is you realize nothing you can do can fix, like this. You know, you guys hear about it's hopeless, and the me takes that as a negative. But it's not. It's only hopeless if you think you're a me, because it is hopeless for the me. But you're not a me.
Do you think that some of the reason that it's really hard to shake the whole me idea is because of identity with the body? Like, maybe I still have some identity with the body, and that's why I still feel like I'm me. I'm just so over this me. I'm just so over this. I'm like, I want to find the culprit.
Well, I want to piggyback off what Stephen kind of was hinting before, Brittany, is because I'm always trying to bring it to this moment. If you guys notice at Satsang, I'm always trying to ping you down to the immediacy of just what's happening. So Stephen asked a really nice question. He asked you, right now in this moment, who is speaking? Yeah. Yeah. You guys, it's the same one speaking through all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I think what might be helpful for Brittany is to see that the one who is complaining about the one that she doesn't like is the same one.
Yeah.
When that happens, it's like whenever there's a no to what's happening, you can bet your life there's judgment. And as soon as that happens, but what I've always done is, when I started to do, was to observe that voice and observe that judgment, because as soon as there's a no to what is, there's a me involved, and you've got to see what sees that, continually coming back to what sees that. And what I realized the other day when I was with some clients is, when you ask them that question to look at what's seeing, is they think, they don't look. And there's a difference between thinking and looking.
Yeah.
If you take your mind with looking, it's trying to figure something out and find something, but looking doesn't have to involve the mind. And that's what I could see was happening.
That's great. That is such a beautiful distinction. And I want to second that, Diane, because I've had people report back to me, and you probably have seen this too in your work, Diane. Okay, fine. I'm observing my crazy thoughts and they're depressing me. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so can you guys see that's what Diane's talking about, is there's a me there judging the thoughts. That's not what we're talking about. She's talking about sort of a, like they were somebody else's.
I did a meditation the other day, you know, that I sent you a video, Michael, of, I can't remember even his name now, but I've been listening to him this week, and there was an I am meditation, which was really interesting. I mean, there's many meditations trying to send you towards that space of just awareness. But he said, just keep being the I am, hang on to that I am thought. And then at some point he said, what's aware of that I am thought, and when you let that go, and you could definitely feel there was a contraction and then there was an expansion straight away. It was a really interesting experience, just to be there and hold that I am and then let it go and know what's observing, and it took you straight into that space. So if that's something you're interested, I can post it on your page if that's okay. It's just probably a half an hour meditation, but it was really powerful.
Yeah. Do that. I'd like to see it.
Okay, I'll do that. When we're finished, I'll put it on the Facebook page.
So again, at tonight's satsang, what we're doing is we're pinning down the me, the seeker, and we're taking a good look at its plan. And we're really saying now, does this have any chance of actually working, right? Because I'm striving, right? I'm constantly seeking. I need the future. You know, I gotta, this is not acceptable. I don't like my life. And there's your clue. Did you hear it? I don't like my life. My life. That's it. If you have a life, you're sunk, as my grandma used to say. Because then there's life and then there's your life. And that's separation. So now you got to protect your life. You got to guard it. You got to, oh my God. But if you want the truth, and that's the thing, you know, satsang is the meeting in truth. And it's ruthless. The truth doesn't care about your thoughts.
Absolutely. Doesn't care at all. Has no compassion.
No, it's beautifully uncompassionate. See, the way I talk about it is that it's not up for truth to bend toward our beliefs. And that's what the me is wanting. I want a truth that will match what I think should happen. No, it's not how it works. The me gets humbled. You get humbled. You realize you don't know anything. And you humble yourself before the truth. Whatever it is, because you don't know what the truth is. Silly wabbit. Right? The me has an idea of what truth is, and it's clueless. How could it possibly know what truth is? Come on.
I said a prayer earlier this week. It's like, whatever I need to hear in order for this me energy to finally die, like, please just speak it through Michael's mouth. So
Yeah. So Michael's mouth, Brittany just said, you're already the truth. You're right. You're already the truth. So there's no getting to what you already are. Now notice how your me reacts to that, right? It doesn't like that. What do you mean I'm already that? Because then the me is out of a job. If this is already wholeness, what are you going to do? I mean, like it or not, you're whole. Sorry.
And it's funny because you just keep saying the same thing to me, but for whatever reason, I just.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to see this for yourself. That's why, Brittany. So the words are just, blah, blah, blah. When you actually see it in your own experience, in other words, you get a visceral feeling of the futility of being a seeker. I mean, if you went into a room and every time you went in the room you got hit, eventually you'd figure out, maybe I don't want to go in the room anymore. So the me, it's amazing. It's like the ever-ready battery. It just keeps going and going and going. And that's not a problem as long as you understand you're not the me.
Yeah, Michael, what happens with me, and I wonder if it's with Brittany, if you get resistant and angry at the me thing, that only makes it worse.
Okay, so you tell me, Faith, right? We're going to try and get more interactive here because I want to hear it from you guys. Who is the one that's getting mad at who?
Oh, the me's getting mad at me.
Good. So all we're saying in Satsang is notice that. Recognize what before you weren't recognizing.
Yeah.
You said it beautifully. The me is getting mad at the me. And you're watching the whole performance.
But what happened here was when I think when I allow the me to be however it shows up, it loses a whole lot of power, and there's an acceptance that it will do its thing, and that's okay. But if I get really angry with it,
Oh, yeah.
it only increases its intensity.
Right. So for a moment, Faith, let's pretend you're the ocean. And let's say a wave acts a particular way. As the ocean, do you care?
Probably not, but
Probably not. The wave is you. Why would you mind what you did if it's all you? See, that's the thing the me can't reconcile. You're not going to see this. It's all one, guys. There's no separate. See, the me is like fighting to get separate so it can just see the wholeness. And I'm telling you, that's the trap. There's no way you can get out of this to be separate from it to know it, because you already are it. So that's why I always bring you back to an intuitive, something in you goes, yes, I don't know how, but something in me just feels that it's all one. Start there. Because that's organic. That's coming from you. It's not coming from a book. It's not coming from Michael. It's not coming from a video. You're feeling it within your own body, this sense of connection with the beloved, with everything. Even if you can't say anything more about it, just that little spark, because that's not the me. The me is not interested in you seeing this. No me wants to come to satsang because this is the end of the me, satsang. So me, this is, Tony Parsons always says that. This is the worst place for me, he says. I mean, it's a pretty outrageous dream the me's having, right? Because the me is saying wholeness is broken. And it needs me to fix it. That's how important I am. Super me. And you can't, right? You can't fix wholeness because all there is wholeness. So it's like banging your head against a wall. That's why it's so painful to be a me, because you're constantly putting out fires because you think this is all about you. So just notice that activity of constantly trying to make this moment whole. Just notice that. And then see the futility of it. I mean, some of us have been trying to make the moment whole for, 50, 60, 70 years. If the me could have made the moment whole by now, I think it would have.
I wish I'd hit that point a long time before. Suicide at 20 is probably not a good thing. I just thought I could get out of it each time.
Right.
Go again, go again, go again. I like that analogy, but another analogy I like is like a puppeteer with a puppet. It's like the me doesn't think that it doesn't have control. That's the whole problem with it. It's like a puppeteer, the puppet's moving, but the puppet wants to go another way, or it's judging another puppet, or it just can't surrender. So that was one of the biggest words for me, was to surrender. And I guess when you're on that level where you just don't want to be here anymore, that's what you do. You surrender, but it's not it's easier to surrender, obviously, willingly. But obviously that seems to be a bit hard for most people. And I see control is a big thing with people. They think they're controlling their life and they've got something to get to here and something I want to get away from there. And there's always a plan. And it's exhausting, really exhausting. That's what led me to where I was. It was too exhausting to try. No more plans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have to 100% that, because me too. I didn't have the energy to fight every battle. So the giving up part is amazing, because at first fear is going to come up, because nobody likes to surrender, right? Because it sounds like you're giving up, like, if I surrender, it means I lost. No, surrender just means that. It means, in a way, it just means stopping. And you begin to notice that everything is happening by itself. That it was an assumption that the me had any power.
Yeah. Like if the puppet stops thinking, it will see that it's just being moved. Happening.
How do you surrender and not become a surrenderer? Like someone that's surrendered. That's an issue for me as well. Like I don't know how many times I've like, I surrender, but then I just say a surrenderer, and I'm like, well, I surrendered. Why am I not awareness?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because that's what Muji says, doesn't he? You have to surrender, and then you have to surrender the surrenderer. I think that comes in time. You have to just it's not a one surrender. You're surrendering every moment. Every time that something comes up that me decides it's going to have a fight with itself again, the surrendering is seeing that that's what's happening. It's letting go of the judgment of that. So you've got to really start to like that one that you're criticizing all the time. Not like it, but just not criticize it. When it comes up, laugh at it. When it comes up, there she is again. Because if you keep that fight going, it just keeps it alive. So it's better to sort of give her a bit of space, I guess, for a bit. And that's what you do. You've got space between you and that. It's moving and staying and falling into a pattern. But there's something seeing it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to tell us about it. Something sees it.
Something
knows
is
it's
seeing
going
it,
on.
but I just feel like it's a lot closer than other things. Like other things I can keep distance, but this is just like this. You can't. But I
Yeah,
get what you're saying.
yeah,
That I must
but
it.
but Brittany, what Diane's pointing out is it doesn't matter what if you think or you feel or you hear a sound, right? Or you hear my voice, like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a me? Whatever it is, whatever is appearing in your consciousness, in your awareness, whatever is arising right now, is it a me, a Brittany that's hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting? Is that one doing all this? Or something much, much, much more powerful and bigger, but you can't really define it. You can't pinpoint it because it's everywhere.
Well, it's something that confuses me too. Like you say it's everywhere, but I feel like I'm only in this body. So I don't understand how it would be everywhere. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, everywhere and nowhere. So it's not a thing, Brittany. That's what we're trying to communicate. It's not, you can't find it. And I can see the me in you is trying to, look for that perfect answer that's just going to resolve all so you could relax, right? Isn't that what you really want, is just relax?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let's start there. What is it that you want?
I just don't want to be an ego anymore. I just don't like the ego, and I don't want it anymore.
So do you have a plan, Brittany, to get rid of this ego?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting a yes. Oh, I got to hear this. Oh, this ought to be good.
If I chant enough, if I contemplate enough, if I
Yeah, okay, very good. That actually, you're right. The me I'll meditate for 20 years. I'll Kundalini arise. So notice something, Brittany, and everyone. Isn't it always in the future? Do you guys see it? So this is not wholeness because I need all this stuff to happen so my future will be better. And it discounts this.
It's hearing about it and seeing certain people like you and Diane and perhaps others who've realized it, and it still feels unattainable because it's not realized in the moment fully. It's there and we're whole and we know on some level that's true and there's nothing else. But what about day-to-day living? I mean, we're on this Zoom call because we want something, even if it's to forget everything but that. There's still a goal. There's still a search. And it's obviously not working or we would all be realized, but isn't it realization of what's already there, what we want? It's what I want.
Yeah, it's realization for no one. See, the me wants to be there.
Yeah. The me is what's asking the question.
Right. So it goes back to my beginning statement at Satsang. I want wholeness, but I, the separate me, want to be there for the wholeness. And that's an impossibility.
Okay. Yeah.
How can separation, if you really want wholeness, there's no room for separation and wholeness. So it's imagining. That's how separation can appear, by imagination. That's it.
All an illusion.
What?
it's all an illusion. In other words, somehow or other, we're aware of whatever we're aware of. And so then we try to identify with, well, then what is me? And it's only an illusion that I can see anyway, that it's just, all I can say is that I'm aware of this, and that's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so beautiful, because do you guys see that he doesn't know a lot?
Nope.
You see how simple that was? And the me knows a lot. Like, for instance, and again, this is for all of us. So the me knows that it has to get rid of itself. That's a knowing. That's not true. Do you see? So these false appear to the me as true. No, I'm suffering, so the me's got to go, or I can't feel the wholeness. No, the wholeness is right here. It's just that your attention is so occupied. So, again, the wave. If I stand on the shore and I just look at a single wave and I imagine that wave's me, I'm sunk. But if and again, I'm not doing anything, right? Did I do anything? I just took my attention off the one wave and put it on the entire appearance. And I stopped saying one is me and the other is not, because that's what the me does. It says, well, I'm this, so I'm not that. And there's no peace in that. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. And that's the me's plan. That's what we're focusing on this edition of Satsang. The me has a plan to make separation into wholeness, and it's doomed before it starts. So that's the surrender, is you give up. You're not qualified. The me cannot do what it's attempting. And so you just give up and just stay here, and you'll get lost in thought, no problem. Just come back to just the simplicity and faith. That's why I was thinking about, you were saying it's really helpful, like Scott Killaby's inquiry would be present with what you're breathing or your bum on the seat. Yeah, because whatever you're present with is actually here. So if you get still with my voice, you can actually hear my voice. So in a way, it kind of brings you present. But when you're thinking, that's not happening. That's not a real thing. And so we spend almost all our waking hours up here in story. And we miss the wholeness. And so the idea is that no story is interesting, because no story can give you freedom. So you just, all of a sudden, thoughts are just thoughts, because you're not using them to get free. Any other final comments or questions before we close out tonight?
Oh, I was just going to say, but your thoughts can be useful when you're driving a car or when you're at work or whatever. There's a usefulness about your thought. Can be. It's like, to me, it's like there's two lots of thoughts. There's the thoughts that are me-oriented and causing suffering, but there's also thoughts like, I'm enjoying this food I'm eating, or I'm going to prepare dinner or something. Yeah.
Those aren't a problem.
No.
So what's the difference, Faith, between the two kinds of thoughts? You tell us.
Probably the judgment filled. Probably some of them are judgment filled and others are just useful. I don't know.
Yeah, there's just functional thoughts like, oh, my keys are over there. and they're not personal. They don't involve the me. It's all the thoughts that involve the me that are the suffering.
Yeah.
You guys, it's so insidious, this me, because if a thought shows up it doesn't like, it then tries to change it. So it pulls you in deeper, because the me is using thought to get rid of thought.
Mm.
That's like a,
It's also worth noting that me isn't always active. It's like you're probably experiencing no me a lot of the time, but not aware that that's happening as well.
yeah.
And so it's not that, I think a lot of people think that they're living in that me 24/7 and there's some idea that something really has to change and they don't know what that change looks like. So there's an idea of what it's going to be like when me's not here anymore, but you are already experiencing that to some degree. It's only when that personal stuff comes up, and that's when you can use, and I found inquiries, which is what I use a lot with my clients, very helpful to start to observe your own reactions, your no's to things when there's a resistance, and it's being very neutral about that, looking, pretty much that's it, and then ask that question, what's seeing this? And it always takes you back. That's continually all I did. It was a very simple thing, really. And it didn't happen like that. It happened over a period of time, and probably still happening too. You know, I still react sometimes, but it's quickly seen and it's gone in a few seconds, you know. So there's just more awareness of it now, a lot more awareness. That makes sense.
So your allegiance is to what's seeing this?
My sense of myself is that which is seeing. It's like the ego that arises now is like Muji says, like the moon in the day. It's very distant, and I laugh when it comes up sometimes. It's not like it ever completely disappears, or maybe I'm attributing just a reaction to that, but none of it feels very personal. I'm seeing from a greater space, and doesn't feel like there's movement from that. In fact, at some point I felt like I wasn't doing the work anymore, and I thought, oh, well, maybe I'm slacking off and I'm going back the other way, but it's like I didn't need to do it anymore. Yeah. Some point there was I don't know when that was, a changeover of power. And it's so little slow increments that you don't know when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's my experience too, Diane. I didn't have the big epiphany that's like an Eckhart moment where it fell away and never came back. For me, it was very gradual and just continually resting in this what is, and seeing how my thoughts keep trying to create drama and being too tired to care. So that's what I wish you. I wish you too much fatigue to give a damn. And see, like I said, and I think Muji does talk about this, the thoughts will kind of rattle or make like, hey, pay attention, right? If you, right, come on, it's like its trick isn't working. It's worked for, 40 years, and suddenly you're like, eh. And so you'll begin to like, and these are all words, these are just all stories, but in a way you begin to get your power back. You realize you've been bossed around by a non-entity. Thank you guys so much for coming to Satsang. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
See you
You
guys.
guys have a great evening, and I'll get this up in the next 24 hours or so on YouTube. Thank you.